This next inlay is a little bit unusual in that I'm using end grain to glue together each of the pieces. I'm basically going to be doing a dot dash pattern with a longer segment, 3 parts maple to 1 part Paduk. It only needs a small block of Paduk for this section that I'm going to make. It should make a long enough inlay to be able to slice up into several pieces. For the layout itself, I could go one of 2 ways, and that's either putting the more quarter sawn edge up or putting the face grain up. And I believe that what I'm going to do is, even though I like the look of the quarter sawn with the Paduk, I'm going to go with the face grain because it's going to be more consistent throughout. If I go with the quarter sawn, it changes just from this end down to this end, and I'm losing some of the flex in the material. I want it to be quite a consistent banding so that I can flip it, add extras to the end or whatever I might need. So I'm going to go with face grain. I've already made sure that my block of Paduk is square by checking the squareness on the end here with the alignment, and that's dead on, so that's great. The Paduk I want to have 1/4 of an inch in. I can tell again that this is where my cut's going to come using my sled. And on this piece, which is just kind of a sacrificial fence, I've marked out with a marking knife 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 3/4 and 1 inch so that I can tell where to line that fence up. So I'll move my stop block over to butt up against that. And that should leave a 1/4 of an inch cutoff. Before I cut into my maple, I'm going to have to ensure that this end is square because right now I know it's not. If I line this up, I've got a slight gap there. I can see daylight behind the blade here. I know that is not square. So I want to make sure everything's square before I cut that first cut off. Otherwise, when I go to join the end pieces together, it'll be a sloppy, gappy piece, and that is not what I want. Just flip this over. I'll use this as a backer board just to prevent my fence from being cut into. And here we have all of my little pieces cut out and in order as I took them off block with spaces to allow for the maple to be inserted in between. The only thing I have left is this thin, almost 1/4 of an inch thick piece. It's not accurate enough for inlay, so this is my waist. Not bad. When I put all my banding together, it makes enough for a 10-inch segment. That's not quite enough for what I really want, but like I said, I'm going to be able to get a lot of veneers out of this, so it's actually like 30 inches long once I put the 3 sections together. I do need to start with the Paduk and end with the maple. I can't put, for example, another block of maple on the end because then I wouldn't be able to glue the 2 together. I'd be missing a Paduk. So make sure you start and end with the same sequences, that you're doing a complete sequence and nothing impartial. First thing I need to do is a light deburring of the rough edges. It's just to keep these blocks from being pushed apart. My bandsaw cut is really smooth and good enough for the type of joinery. And I'll be keeping this side out to the outside, the quarter sawn part, and I'll just continue along. It appears that my maple is just a little bit taller than the Paduk. That's fine, it's smooth on the front. I'll be cutting that off even and joining it before I continue with the next step. Okay, I've waxed my board down so nothing will stick, and I just have a simple block here that I have to make sure is square, and it lines up square with my backboard. That's great. So ready to do the glue up. Feels really weird to be doing end grain glue up, but again, because I'm going to be sandwiching this between two pieces of grain that runs with the long grain, I'll have plenty of long grain holding everything together. It doesn't matter that the joints in between are a little bit weak. They're going to be pretty tiny anyway in the end. So. I cut the blank into 1/4 inch wide sections, leaving me squares of a paddock. I clean up the saw marks with a hand plane. I get 3 lengths from this blank, and even the leftover can be useful. These fragile pieces, because they're end glued, need to have some side grains supporting and gluing everything together. So I have this bar of ebony that's almost the perfect thickness. I cut the ebony into 1/16 of an inch strips that will go on either side of the maple and paddock. I like using Titebond 3 because even though it's more expensive than other white glues, it's a good choice for something that will be used in a pizza peel. A gluing jig gives me a good square surface to keep everything in alignment. I use a caul on top and lots of clamps.